Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and today we are going to be talking about the Elimination Chamber. Just happened yesterday. Um, you know, I, it was one of those PLEs where me personally, was not really like pumped for it because it's like, yes, we get to figure out the rest of the WrestleMania card, but it didn't feel like anything going into this felt like this was going to be like game changing to make WrestleMania so much more better, and everything was super predictable because a lot of the times, mainly when we get those 5 match cards, the 4 match cards are a little bit better, but when we have the 5 match cards, I almost never predict everything 100%. But this has to be probably in a long time my first 100% predicted show to the T. Uh, it's kind of crazy. But we'll go over everything and talk about the entire event because there was a few other little things that happened in between, and we'll talk about what we think is going to happen with WrestleMania. So let's start off with the women's chamber. It was Tiffany Stratton versus Rhea Ripley versus Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Kiana James, and Raquel Rodriguez. So right off the bat, Kiana James had a great showing. I really thought she was like this push or like whatever she was going to get was just being in this match, but no, she had a lot of good moments of either doing some type of offense or taking offense. Like some people don't really see that in wrestling, but like if you can sell and you can be shown that you can do these crazy things, people are going to remember those moments and remember that you were in this tournament or like in this elimination chamber, so you can etch out your own thing. So she by far wasn't the worst worker in that match. I think everybody really did have some good stuff. I think we'll go down the line. Tiffany Stratton, I think, had a lot of good sells. She always kind of does that where she kind of oversells. Like she sells a lot but doesn't get a lot of offense in return. So she always kind of looks like she kind of got manhandled overall. I mean, you can see it on the outside that that's just her trying to be a good worker, but she definitely needed her offense, and I don't think she ever really got that, even though she was in the final three and stuff. I think, but she was the last, being pinned. So I mean, she did at least have that, but I definitely think she definitely oversold everything else. Then you had Rhea Ripley, just always solid. I mean, that's why she's in these type of matches, even in general, even if she's not gonna win it, what she ended up doing. She's that type of person you put in here because she's going to one sell, also have cool strengths, also have cool moments. Everything that she had kind of is that signature. Like if you think of a lot of the moments, she was definitely up there and being one of the better competitors. Alexa Bliss, I think, probably would be the one that had the least out of everybody. She had a couple moments and stuff, but I think out of all 6, she definitely seemed to have a little bit more of a struggle to get her like moment in this thing, and which isn't the greatest. Then you had Asuka. Other than being part of that double pin, which I just think was also a really bad decision to do. She had great offense, always just that solid competitor that you can put into any type of match, and she's going to give you her best. I mean, like I rarely can see that I could just say, hey, Oscar had a really bad match that time. Like she normally is in there and gets that job done. So that definitely was what she did here. Like I said, Kiana James definitely surprised me. I really, really thought they were gonna just kind of throw her to the wolves, like have her there, but then be the first eliminated. But she had a lot of solid moves, a lot of good moves, good moments. Having her that where she rammed Ashka coming out of the chamber was a great thing because you like barely see it and she just gets hit. It was a cool iconic moment. I really thought they did great with that. And then Raquel Rodriguez always seems to like lately be getting those big moments. I mean, she had that like momentum where I believe if she didn't have that double pin, I would have really believed that she was gonna win that. The way that they were booking her, I was like, man, she's gonna win this. But then when she got the double pin, I'm like, okay, well that's gonna be her like momentum build. Like you can't really get mad at somebody who gets a double pin in a match like that. Again, think it was a bad decision. I really think having her have 2 like really good moves. And the problem with Raquel, I always had this, is that I like her finisher, the Tijuana bomb, but she does sometimes struggle to get the person up into this position like she did with Ashka, and it kind of looks bad. And having a double pin off of a bad move just wasn't the call there. But overall, I think the chamber match was, a really solid match. I'm gonna put it in B. I do think I believe, like thinking about it, I do think I like last year's chamber match better. I do believe I rated that one an A. I did. like that Rhea Ripley won. I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. I really didn't think this is where what they should have done with the storyline, because I think Rhea and Jade, unless Jade gets Io Sky and grates her face on the side of a like the wall or something, or like bloodies her to a pulp, I just don't see this feud getting into any type of WrestleMania levels of feud. It should be an easy, just her beating up Jade. But then I really do think they're using this to maybe push Jade even further. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm not necessarily happy with the winner, but I don't think I would have been happy with any of them winning. I thought maybe Raquel would be the best one to win, just because she might try to pull out some weird move and be like, "Hey, I don't want to face Jade Cargill. I want Stephanie. I'm not done with her." And if Liv didn't want to swap, then they would make that a triple threat. I could have seen something like that being, better, and they could still possibly do that at some point, but I'm just not necessarily for it on necessarily this was going to be a lose-lose situation with the winner, but I am happy that Rhea won. Then we had an Intercontinental Championship match. It was Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee. This one's like a weird one because like AJ Lee hasn't had a singles match in 12 years, so I don't want to like rate it too harshly because of that. Obviously, she's a professional wrestler and needs to go out there and on a PLE and give her best. I don't think she was bad. I don't think it was good either. I just think she went out there and kind of was wrestling around Becky Lynch, because like Becky kind of had to like slow everything down for her. I think she was the perfect person to have her singles match with, because I think Becky took care of her out there. And at least for me, it just that's how it kind of felt. Like it just felt like Becky was taking care of her, letting AJ Lee do whatever she could to get some offense in, and then just getting a little bit here and there for herself, so she still looked good. Overall, I'd probably still put this in D. I just didn't really like it. The result is fine. I figured AJ Lee would win here. It's a good moment to have. She's part of the home crowd. Everything really fit, and they could still bring this feud all the way into WrestleMania. So I'm kind of cool with that. I do think it would be nice to add another person into it. Not necessarily for the feuding side of things. I think for the wrestling side of things, if you add somebody, even like a Lyra Valkyrie, this could really, really make that triple threat better. And if Lyra pinned AJ Lee, that would be insanely big momentum for something like Lyra. But I really don't think they're going to do that, unfortunately, for Lyra's case. But that's at least what I would be feeling. Next up, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match, Finn Balor versus CM Punk. I actually really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed their first match too, so I thought this one would be good. The desperation, of like both of them just kind of going out there, and one, CM Punk's in front of his home crowd, so he's really just going to have that like momentum. And also Finn Balor just, he's kind of prove everybody right, I think, or like everybody wrong about him on that, like, that he's a pin Balor and all that. I think Finn's momentum is at an all-time high, that this wasn't the worst L to take, but I do think they need to decide if he's going to turn on Judgment Day or whatever that's going to entitle with him and Dominic Mysterio. Because if that's the WrestleMania match, this is the time to do it, and this is the time to have Finn win, because Finn needs a title. He needs something right now, and I don't think the tag team titles would be good. Obviously, CM Punk has Roman Reigns, so being inserted in that as a triple threat wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing, but he's probably not going to win it. There's got to be something. This is a all-time like pivotal moment for Finn Balor. If you want him in the main event scene, if you want him as like a top guy, like a top 10 superstar in your roster, I think this is where they need to have the Iron Strike and have him go against Dom. I know we got 7 weeks, which is a lot of chance to lose momentum, but I think they could really set up some type of storyline there. I think that's where they've been kind of looking at, but I guess we'll see, because Dom versus Penta, I think, this week, so they're probably going to be some shenanigans there, but we just really need something here where Finn can go and do something. So I'm going to put that up there, because honestly, what I would have is that Finn Balor and JD go down the save Dom from Penta. JD gets taken out, and then Finn accidentally takes out Dom, and then Penta pins him for the IC title. Dom asks for his rematch. Something else happens, and then they set up like just everybody being upset with each other, a triple threat at Mania, where Finn pins Dom to get the title. So then, Penta gets a little bit of a title run, like about a 6 week title run, and gets. Hopefully they can see what he can do. Like hopefully they give him like a defense or two in between that. I don't know. That's how I would build it. It would be nice little like momentum storyline, and then you would have multiple people getting over because Dom could lose both of those matches and still be a megastar. Finn getting the title and Judgment Day dissolving would make him a megastar, and then Penta getting a title run would show that they have some invested into Penta that he could then possibly, obviously, he could get a rematch against Finn Balor at Backlash. He could do something like that. There's some storyline that then allows Penta, and now you've just made three people much more solid. And sometimes like I don't get that with WWE writing, that it feels like they focus on like solo feuds when they can really do triple threats pretty easily. Then we get to the men's chamber match. We'll go over everybody's performance. Obviously, Randy Orton, the legend, winning this. The story that they told at the very end of the chamber was perfect, with Randy Orton not hesitating this time with the Seth Rollins interference on Cody Rhodes, or like he was out there. Um, I think that was great because he hesitated at King of the Ring, and that cost him the opportunity to win the King of the Ring and to challenge John Cena later on. So I think that was a good piece of storytelling that they actually have succeeded on. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, I think it would be a solid match. I do see this getting complicated and them adding Cody and maybe Jacob Fatu and maybe even Sami Zayn if they really want to go crazy, but we'll see how that goes because I feel like that is the way that they're trying to make sure night one has a really crazy main event. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I'm just going to be honest with that. The way that WrestleMania has been shaping up, something like that is needed, and I'm perfectly fine with it. Even if it's like a elimination chain of people, like Randy draws the second to last spot because he's the one that won the chamber, and obviously Drew is the very last man in, and maybe something like that. I don't know. I could see something crazy. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Something crazy like that. LA Knight had some solid moments. I mean, he really is one of those guys they just insert into any of these like like the Money in the Bank match, this match, like stuff where he's just kind of a background player, but he gets enough of his offense in and enough of what he is that you remember that he's in that match. But that's about it. It's not bad, but I think that's the problem with LA Knight is that he's, I think, just too good into this spot. Like he's definitely should be a main eventer if he was like on any other company, but WWE treats him as like that midway star that he's never gonna quite get that title run, but he really should be in that US area, like the US title run. But he's above that, like they really don't want to use him there because that's more for creating stars, and he's already one. But I guess we'll figure it out. Cody did good. I mean, obviously, Cody always gets some good spots. He did some decent stuff. Obviously, being the second to last, being eliminated is always a good thing. I think the story that they're telling with Cody, Drew, and all that is okay. I know they're going to be having a match on SmackDown this week that probably is going to have a lot of shenanigans and stuff, but I'm kind of excited that they are at least doing that because it does really like hone in like, okay, Drew's doing all this crap, Cody does kind of deserve to go through that. I mean, obviously it's going to be a DQ or some other crap, but I'm cool with that. Even if they just decided to go crazy and let Cody beat Drew McIntyre, and it's Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, that is the match that I wanted. So I'm honestly, if that happens, I'm not going to be too upset because I think Drew's numbers, or days are numbered either way. I don't think he survives WrestleMania with the title either way. So if that is what happens and he goes early, I guess that's what it is. That whole thing has been terrible. Javon Evans, I want to say like it's a weird thing to say. I'm disappointed in his performance just because like I thought he was going to be able to do more crazy stuff. I don't think that's necessarily against him per se. I think that's just more of like that's what they limited him to. But him not taking an RKO off the top of a cell, I think was a huge missed opportunity. Yeah, I just feel like he does crazier stuff in a regular Raw match than what he had here. Still good, but like for him, I feel like it was disappointing. Trick Williams had a solid performance. It's freaking Trick. He's really like defining his aura out there. Obviously being on top of he had the moves on top of the cell before the match started. I think really worked for him. Everything about him is really shaping together on this main roster. I just think they need to pull the trigger on him sooner than later. I really do think that he should have a match against Carmelo for the title on this road to WrestleMania and possibly even win it or possibly win it at Mania in some type of thing. I think putting a belt on this man and just letting him go with it, I think is going to be perfect. I know he's been in the main event scene, but we know he's not going to stay around that per se right away. So I think putting him down into a title shot opportunity down there, I think will be way better. I do think an open challenge at WrestleMania might be the call just because of the history they have. But Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes is should be kind of built up because of the friendship that they had in NXT and all that. I think could be a really good storyline and a big plot point to get them to WrestleMania with some extra feuds. Then Logan Paul came. He was the last minute addition. He took pretty much Bronson Reed's spot in all of this. He had a lot of eliminations because they obviously were trying to push whoever was going to be in the vision on this match. And then the masked man was found to be Seth Rollins. And that's going to probably pretty much just set Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul going to WrestleMania, which I think is fine. Not necessarily the match I would want for Seth Rollins, but because of all the injuries and everything else has happened, that is the best available match. We also had Danhausen appear before this match. I thought that was a pretty good one. The crowd really didn't like it. I don't really understand it necessarily why they were upset about it. I really don't. I can understand like if it's not your cup of tea of like, oh, I don't really care this guy's in here, but I don't understand booing him. I don't I as far as I know, this man's barely been on AEW. He's just more of an independent wrestler, and every other time an independent wrestler comes through, everybody's so inclined to just, you know, be rooting for him. So it kind of feels just kind of shitty that he got a bad reception. I kind of hate that for him because I like Danhausen, and I'm kind of excited that he's in WWE to see what he could do. Obviously, a comedy act, but you know, it's still fun. But back to the match. I don't know why I had to go so much on a tangent. I'm gonna put this in C. It really could be put into D, and I would be fine with it. It just didn't have the same thing that the women had. The women definitely were more tearing towards A, and you know the men were definitely could be towards the S. Cage match kind of is similar to this also. Like this rating is like at least in the same order, being the best to the worst. I think everybody could understand this was the order of the best to worst match. These two were very close to each other, but you know, overall. But yeah, I think Elimination Chamber I put an overall C. Last year's was just so much better. It was one of the best PLEs of all last year. So that was, you know, you had the John Cena heel turn, you had the Bianca Belair hair whip that was just so iconic, and everything else was just solid in that card. But this definitely failed a little bit. But hopefully we'll get back on track. 7 weeks to WrestleMania, so we'll see how that goes. Until next time, this has been Japan. Bye, guys.